Yeah.
So, do you think the myth, I think it's a myth, that recruiters flat out lie
Yeah.
to people, or do you think it's just a lack of knowledge on the subject matter?
So,
Everybody, I have Logan Browning here as a guest.
thank you.
Logan and I, we actually like pretty much grew up together, both military brats, ended up staying in Virginia for the majority of our time, and then we connected through soccer. Back then, Logan was the kid with the long flowing hair, and
Yeah.
I was the one with the short hair, all serious. But now we've kind of switched roles here.
You
Um,
had some pretty long hair at one point.
yeah, at one point, but I chopped it all off right before I joined,
Yeah.
which in hindsight is kind of dumb.
Yeah. We both did
But
that though.
so, Logan, you joined initially to be a combat controller, right?
Yep.
Throughout that process, right, you've dealt with recruiters.
Hmm.
You went through the majority of the pipeline, right? You
Yeah.
almost made it.
Yep.
Um, Ended up getting, I don't want to put words in your mouth. Do you want to
Yeah.
explain?
I mean, I got washed out the day before the 15-mile ruck in combat control school. So the last mission, my reserve chute, it had a twist in it, and that was a major safety violation. And that was my second throughout the course. So they booted me after that, which completely understandable. I mean, it should have been something I checked, but hey, everything happens, man.
Yeah, and everything happens for a reason, one
Yeah.
way or another, right? So from there, were you a load master?
No, so I went to traffic management afterwards. So I got sent back to Medina for a little while, just kind of sat around. Then I got slotted in for traffic management, which no idea what it was when I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What is it?
absolutely. It is logistics and moving cargo, moving people. So loaded up a lot of trucks. I loaded up a lot of FedEx, UPS, DHL. And then another portion of my job was like household goods. So like when people had to PCS and move, they had to come to TMO with their weight tickets or get their moves contracted. I didn't
Oh,
necessarily do a whole lot with that, but I did the cargo aspect of it.
yeah. And you got pretty heavy into weight training at that point, right?
When I was deployed, yeah, and then I came back and lost it all, and then I deployed again, got big, came back, lost it all, and now I've finally, like, as a recruiter in my third year, I'm finally like been really consistent for the last 6 to 8 months. Been extremely consistent. So,
Nice. How long are you expected to stay as a recruiter? Is that like a career-ending
so,
gig? Like, do you keep going or?
so there's two aspects of it. So there's three tiers in recruiting. So there's tier one, tier two, and tier three. When you're doing tier one, it is your initial like, hey, you are putting people from civilian to Air Force, and that's about a 4 year gig. And then you can either choose to stay in recruiting and move up and go to like your MEPs offices, your training and marketing, your officer sessions, your special warfare sessions, or you can go back to your original career field. So there's two options there. And then your third tier is like your flight chiefs, your production superintendent. Like, so realistically, you're just moving up into the supervisory roles of tier three.
Okay, so you're supervising other recruiters at that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Cool. So you're coming up, you said toward the end of your third year as a
Yeah.
recruiter? So
Yeah.
you're still in tier one, right?
Yep. Still in tier one. So
Okay,
doing just initial enlisted sessions.
nice. What are the most common misconceptions about somebody joining the Air Force? Like what do they normally come in
Well,
and ask you right away?
the biggest thing is like, what's the ASVAB score requirement to get in? Because everybody, it's been a myth perpetuated that you need to have like a 50 or a 60 to even join the Air Force, and that's definitely not true. You could have as low as a 31. So it's the same for all the branches besides the Army, which has flexed their scores quite a bit. So as the Navy. So I guess it's not the same for all branches anymore, but it has been a 31 for as long as recruiting has really been around, right? Um, yeah. Now, along with your ASVAB score comes like how many jobs you can qualify for. And there's a lot of weeds to get in when it gets into ASVAB scoring, but a 31 overall is all you need. So that's like the biggest misconception.
Okay. What about so I know the Army has kind of relaxed their requirements about people who
Mhm.
have smoked weed in the past or
Mhm.
stuff along those lines. Is the Air Force on the same trajectory?
Oh yeah, we definitely have. I mean, you smoked weed in the past. It's 45 days. He claims. Really, it's 30 days. Us in my office, we wait 45 just to make sure that you are completely good, and then we can send you to the medical facility. So, like, if you come in and have an appointment with me tomorrow and say you smoked weed last week, I'm gonna put you on hold for a little while and just be like, "Hey, get this stuff knocked out. I won't send you to the medical facility until probably end of January, just based off the timelines here."
Okay.
So it's super
And
easy. Weed is just I mean, it's legalized in Maryland, in Maryland. So it's really something that's like everybody's doing it. The Air Force doesn't necessarily matter. Now, harder stuff, the narcotics and all of those type of drugs, they're not really looking at saying, yeah, let's let all these guys in. But
okay.
weed is weed.
So if you like to sleep, you're fine, but if you like to party, you can't.
Yeah, yeah, for real.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
And like overall, as a nation, the standards on marijuana have kind of relaxed anyway, so it just
yeah,
makes sense
yeah.
that
I mean,
they're relaxed.
I don't ever see the military getting to that point, but at least upon entry, like it's super easy to get cleared.
Nice. What about the transition at MHS Genesis?
Oh man. So
Yeah,
that has been that's rocked a couple worlds, right? So I mean, way back in the day, when me and you joined, you could go up to MEPs and be like, I've never had anything, I swear, and then you make it through, right? Like as long as you're not spewing stuff at the mouth at MEPs, you were good.
right.
Nowadays, they do a medical records pull on everybody. So that's looking at like your pharmacy history. They can't see everything, but they're getting pretty close to seeing everything at this point. So it's one of those things, like, be upfront with your recruiter. Like, if you're upfront with it, we can get it cleared. Now, if you're not upfront and you're just like, I'm gonna be like the old days and not tell you guys anything, then go up to MEPS and they'll disqualify me up there. It doesn't help you out if you're just withholding stuff from us. So as long as the applicant tells us everything, we can make the steps and get the medical documents and get things pushed up and get cleared, rather than you saying nothing, going up to MEPS and then sitting on the floor and then them saying, "Oh, you had ADD like 2 years ago and you took medications for it. Why didn't you tell us?" That type of stuff.
Okay. So really the biggest factor is people lying about their medical history.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Um, so let's say I come to you and I'm upfront and honest about my entire medical history, right?
yeah,
Let's say a couple broken bones, let's say childhood asthma.
yeah.
Um, how do I get cleared? Do I have to go see a doctor and they do a lung test on me? Like,
So yeah, it really depends. So when we do our medical forms, we send it up to this chief medical officer up at our MEPS for a what's called a pre-screen. So they look through everything. So if you put down like childhood asthma, they're not necessarily too worried about childhood asthma. It's more of like persisting through high school. But but a lot of the times when they're looking at asthma, they're going to want you to do 3 pulmonary function tests. So they're going to be one exercise induced, one resting, and then one before the exercise induced one. So 3 pulmonary function tests to see what your lung capacity and what your lung capabilities are. And then they can decide, oh yeah, we're going to clear you or not clear you. And typically, it's not even going to be the chief medical officer that clears you. It'll be up above that at the Surgeon General of the Air Force.
okay.
So there's a
And
lot.
is that during MEPS when you get those three pulmonary function tests, or are you
No,
expected to
so
do that on your
yeah,
own?
yeah. So most of the time when they're doing asthma tests and pulmonary functions, it's on you to do those. So they won't do those type of testing up at MEPs. It's just because they don't have the time. They have, so for example, our MEPs is and the Surgeon General is backed up about 8,000 applications. So
Wow.
it takes a lot for them to be like, okay, we're going to get this test done. The
Okay.
other type of consults and testing is pretty easy to get like scheduled with them.
Okay. So that is completely on the applicant's dime, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
their health insurance, their everything, they're expected
yeah.
to take care of that.
Unfortunately, for that one, yeah.
Okay. And anything else that they need cleared by the medical director, they would also have to go get that
No,
tested.
so that depends, right? So, for example, like some people who had ADD or ADHD in the past, they'll go up to MEPS, even if they've told me, right? So if they told me, we submit everything. Sometimes a medical facility wants a psychiatric consult, but because they want it, they will make you an appointment with a specialist to get a consult. So it's just like a referral at a regular doctor. So they will actually have you leave MEPS, uh, go back to your recruiters and stuff, and then set up a consult for a later date so that they can clear you. Now that's only for certain types of things, right? So like another thing that I've seen a lot of is like cardiology, so like EKGs and like maybe a heart murmur or something like that. It's really if they find out something like up there, like say you never even knew you had a heart murmur, but they're doing all your like testing and they find it. That's a little bit different of a story than I knew I had this in the past. So they're going to try to help you get clear.
Okay.
But
That
it's
makes
always
sense.
up in the air. There's a little bit of like, there's a little difference for each and every kind of condition.
Yeah. How does that affect ship out dates, right? Because when we joined, it was maps, and then the next day you were shipping out.
Yeah.
Um, how does this whole thing muck up that
So,
scenario?
so we haven't done any like straight to MEPS and then get shipped out in a long time. Like, I mean, for sure, since I've been in recruiting, I've never had somebody go up to MEPS and then ship out the next day. It's
Okay.
always been you go to MEPS, you get cleared, you get fully qualified, and then you come back and you build a job list with me, and then you wait for that for one of those jobs to come available. So it used to be a 6, 7, 8 month wait. Now it's looking like so. Say you go to MEPS tomorrow and you get cleared, you could be leaving in February March timeframe. So that's the
Oh,
stuff
wow.
that that's just, like it's closing the gap a little bit more.
That's awesome. So you're
Yeah,
first thing checking to see if they're even qualified,
yeah,
and then going through the whole process of jobs and everything. Okay.
yeah.
That seems like a better process.
A lot better, a lot better.
Cool. So that kind of brings me to job selection, right?
Yep.
You go through MEPS, you take the ASVAB.
This is where everybody gets like crazy.
Oh yeah. And surprisingly, like I was looking at them the other day, the scores for special warfare
They're not
aren't
crazy.
stupid high.
No.
I think the highest one is TAC P.
Yeah. Well, SWOE was all grouped under one at
Okay.
this point. So like TACP, PJ, Combat Control, and SR, they're all grouped under one like career field to ship out on. So, and I think, don't quote me, and I know my flight chief's gonna get mad when I say I think it's about a 55 or 59 in general,
Okay.
um, just to get into SWOE. And then SEER and EOD both have their own ASVAB scores that they need to get into. Like EOD, obviously, you have to have a higher electrical score than you would need for SEER. SEER, I think, is general 49.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I'm gonna go make fun of my Sear cats now. Just kidding.
Hey, man.
I love those guys. So with those jobs specifically, and
Mm-hmm.
there are a few others that get enlistment bonuses, right?
Yes.
Like Intel is airborne linguist still
Yeah. So jobs with bonuses change almost every quarter. So, and that's, I mean, the ones that are constant that I've never seen not on the bonus list are your special warfare, your linguists, and then your cyber positions. But to qualify for the cyber bonuses, you have to have certifications.
Mhm.
So that's the caveat with that. Like if you came up off the street, you've never had any experience or certifications or anything, you're not going to get a bonus with cyber. But if you do have certifications, cool. And then it switches to like stuff that the Air Force is really needing at the time. So like aircraft mechanics, ground equipment, fuels, your open aptitude areas. Some of those have a bunch of bonuses as well.
And
So it changes. It changes every quarter.
are those all you only get a bonus for a 6-year contract, or are some of them
No,
4-year?
yeah. So all of them that I've seen recently are both 6 and 4.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's interesting because one of my guys just scored a contract for, I think it was EOD, and he's like, "Yeah, I get a $20,000 bonus."
Yeah.
I think that's what he said. But
I
I
want to say that.
remember
Yeah.
talking to him. I'm like, "Hey, just check with your recruiter. Make sure you don't have to do a 6-year because he was under a
Yeah.
4-year contract." And
Yeah.
he sent me a snapshot. He's like, "Sure enough, it's a 6-year contract. Like I'm updating
Mm.
everything now."
Yeah. I mean, and it very well could be. I don't remember right off the top of my head if they're all 6 or 4s. But I do know like your aircraft mechanics and stuff. It's both 6 and 4.
Okay.
So
So
SW and combat support stuff. It's very difficult to kind of say like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
With the pararescue pipeline,
Mhm.
right? What kind of timeline do you give your recruits?
As in
Like
like,
from shipping date through graduation.
mm. So here's the fun thing, right? So I advertise really heavily about special warfare on my Instagrams and all that stuff. And I can talk to a lot of people. Now, I'm not a special warfare recruiter either. I just knew what I knew from myself and from you going through the whole process. So
Right.
I gave information based off of that. Now I've also told a lot of people like it's changed a whole lot, but I've still always given them about a 2 year like it's going to take about 2 years, and that doesn't even mean you're fully qualified. That just means that you got your basic kind of training done, and then you have to go to upgrade training.
Yeah.
So, and then I know the process has changed so much since we went through. Like we didn't have ANS and we didn't have SWIC. Like we didn't have any of that. So it's changed a whole lot since we went through.
Yeah, it has. And
Yeah.
so the reason I ask that is I'm getting students now just starting
Mhm.
the apprentice course. And for
Yeah.
people who don't know, like the apprentice course is about 5, 6 months long,
Mhm.
right? These guys are at 3.5 years in the Air Force
Holy,
by the time I'm getting them, right?
good
So
God.
it really hurts when one of these guys fail a med eval or they fail a tech rescue scenario and they have to get
Yeah.
set back another 6 months because now they're at the end of their 4-year contract.
Yeah.
Right? And what people don't really understand is you owe 2 years as an operator once you graduate.
Okay.
So
I didn't even know that.
you're expected to extend for 2 years. So if you're signing a
Okay.
4-year contract
Uh,
and
and
you're
you
getting
come
through the
up, yeah.
pipeline,
Oh
yeah, at the
man.
end of 4 years, you're gonna sign a 2-year extension and potentially completely miss out on the enlistment bonus. Unless you guys have an enlistment bonus for a 4-year. I honestly don't know.
I'll have to get back with you on that one. I think
Okay.
so. I
Okay.
think
Because
so.
at
But I
least
know
when we
it's all contingent on you graduating the course anyways.
Yeah, it is.
So
Absolutely. Um, at least when we went through, 6-year contract was the only way to get
yeah.
that enlistment bonus,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
yeah, man,
That's
COVID did a
interesting.
number.
That's interesting. I didn't know it was that long. And like, damn. So
Yeah,
I don't know. Our special warfare recruiters always kind of said it was like 2 to 2.5 years. Now he hasn't been affiliated with special warfare at all. He just is the special warfare recruiter.
okay.
So people who have been recruiting for those 3 to 4 years as tier one, they move up to tier two if they're wanting to, and that's one of the positions. So they go through a lot of like kind of play special warfare stuff, like
Yeah.
with some of the operators down in Hurlburt or down in Pope. Um, but they don't know full details. Now we do have the T3I instructors So I know one of our instructors is a combat controller here, but he covers a whole big area as well.
Yeah. The swirls, the special warfare recruiting liaisons, they're regional, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, so I think you and I had the same one. We had Dusty
Yeah, yeah, we have
when
Dusty.
we were young pups. Fun fact, Dusty is he's still working with us.
Is he really? Hey
Yeah,
man,
he works for the instructor qualification course now. So he
nice.
teaches instructors and he comes by the schoolhouse once a year to give us our refreshers.
Oh, that's
So it's
legit.
always a blast from the past
Yeah,
seeing him.
that's legit.
But yeah, okay. Yeah, get back to me whenever you can so I can at least put it in the footnotes
Yeah,
about a 6 year or 4 year contract getting their enlistment bonus.
of course.
Um, Now I think you touched on an important point, right? Like the swirl that you have was never in special warfare, right?
Yeah,
And then what you know is from what we went through in our
yeah,
respective pipelines.
yeah,
So do you think the myth, I think it's a myth, that recruiters flat out lie
yeah.
to people, or do you think it's just a lack of knowledge on the subject matter?
So it depends on what you're talking about, right? Or it depends on what type of questions you're asking. Some of it definitely can be, and I would say a majority of it would be a lack of knowledge. Like if you're talking about an enlisted recruiter talking about special warfare stuff, they might not understand. Maybe they were fuels their entire career before they were recruiters and they had no dealings with any type of special operators. Then I could definitely see like maybe you're just not versed on the subject matter that you're supposed to be in. Now, they people will come to me with my like say they're talking to my office partner. My office partner was in Hurlburt for a couple of years with the special operators as a ground trans. So he never went through it, but he saw how like they were going about their daily lives and training down there. So he could speak a little bit to it. Now then you go and talk to another recruiter and maybe they were stationed in Minot, never had any like type of exposure to that. Then I could see like them not knowing really anything about it. But I mean, as recruiters, you're supposed to know at least a little bit about a majority of the career fields in the Air Force. Doesn't make you an expert on it, but you're supposed to know a little bit about everything. So
Okay.
I don't think people are just flat out lying. I think they just might not know the full picture.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Like when I went through the pipeline, I remember thinking that my recruiter lied to me. I don't even
Yeah.
remember what it was about, right?
Uh,
That's how insignificant it is now,
yeah.
11, almost 12 years later.
Yeah.
Um, but over time, I think I've come to realize that it was just a lack of knowledge,
Yeah.
right? And whatever questions I did have, I should have talked to Dusty, our special warfare
Right.
recruiting
Yeah. Yeah.
liaison,
Yeah.
right? I should have reached out to him because he would have had a much better picture.
Yeah.
Um, okay. The T3I guys that you
Mhm.
guys are using, are all of them from a special warfare background?
So I haven't seen one that hasn't been. So
Okay.
the only one that I've dealt with two. And I do not remember the guy's name before Bo for the life of me. I can't remember his name, but he was a former combat controller. Our guy Bo now is a former combat controller. So both of them, yeah, obviously special warfare backgrounds,
Okay. Cool.
and I think that that's what they are trying to do for T3I. I don't think they would bring in somebody who wasn't in a SW background.
Yeah. How many are there? Is there one per state? Is there one per region?
So I know Bo is the one for the region of like Northern Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, Pennsylvania, spots in Pennsylvania, and then you move up into like northern Pennsylvania, and there's another one that covers that whole area, and then even further north they cover New York and the whole like upstate area. So they're all regional, so it's not by state or anything like that.
Okay.
Because I mean, Dusty covered a whole he covered like all of Virginia essentially, and maybe even parts of North Carolina.
He covered a lot when I
Yeah,
talked to him. He was in charge of pretty much the entire East Coast. He was going down to Florida
yeah,
and up. Yeah, he was
yeah.
everywhere. He was always busy. What is the role of the T3I guy? What does he do?
He does the development sessions for the most part, or that I've seen. He does the development sessions with the guys accepted into the special warfare development, so they pass the IFT and everything. He'll do those sessions, and then he'll do IFTs as well. So
Okay.
as far as I know, that's their job. Now, obviously, I'm not like hooked into him as much, just because I do my own thing as an enlisted recruiter, and then the special warfare guys are the ones that takes care of the special warfare candidates.
All right. How often do they do the dev sessions?
So I know they have 3 or 4 a month. Now it's not always it's not always 3 or 4, and it's not always a dev session either. Sometimes it's like a dev session plus an IFT, or IFT plus dev session. Then others it's just dev session. Others it's IFT only. So it really depends. I've seen them on the schedule for like they're usually around 4 a month. So 4 scheduled events a month.
Okay. And when they do the IFTs, are they documenting that and sending it to you?
They're not sending it to me. So they're sending it to the special warfare recruiters.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then like if one of my applicants is one of them that's doing the IFT, then the special warfare recruiter will document it in the system and show me like what he scored,
All right.
if that makes sense.
Yes.
I don't know. The whole recruiting process gets kind of nuts because we can't guarantee a person a job. Like straight out of, hey, I want to talk to a recruiter because I'm interested in the Air Force. Can't sit you down and be like, I can guarantee you a position in cyber security forces, SW. I can't guarantee you nothing until at least you get through the medical facility and you take your ASVAB. So MEPs and ASVAB. Those are what will qualify you for a job list. And then you create another job list off of that one. So I think I don't remember if me and you actually did this when we were joining. Is like you looked at what you were qualified for, and then you picked like 10 jobs off of that, saying like, "Hey, you're willing to take these 10 jobs." Now, if you get one of those 10, you put it on your list, right? But we can't give you something that's off your list.
Okay.
But the only time you get guaranteed a job is when you book it and it's a contract.
Yeah, no, that's what
Yeah,
I did. I
yeah.
remember specifically, I was like, I
Dude,
want this job.
I don't even remember, man, because I remember I didn't ask my recruiter nothing. I didn't ask her nothing. I was just like, sign me up. I'm ready to go. I want to go in for combat control, or I want to go in for pararescue, but I could never run that damn pass test that fast. So I got combat control instead. But
Yeah,
I'd also booked a security forces job that left in like January before I booked my February combat control job.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know
I
that.
had to, yeah, I had to pass the last pass like a month before the February ship date for combat control. I had to pass that one in order to actually secure that one. Otherwise, I was going in for security forces.
That's
So
crazy.
yeah, so I ran my little ass off.
Okay, so that might be. Remember
Yeah,
how I told you, like over the phone, I have a guy who said his recruiter lied to him.
yeah,
That might be it because he, again, conversation. What is it? Secondhand information
yeah,
here.
yeah.
He told me that he had to sign for another job instead of going straight for special warfare.
Okay,
He got picked up for that job. He's now a tech sergeant going through the apprentice course,
okay,
right? Um, what I think happened is exactly what you just said. He had
yeah,
his wish list. He may not have
hmm,
passed the IFT,
yep,
and he shipped out for something on his wish list.
exactly,
Okay.
exactly that. Yeah, because if I wouldn't have passed that last pass before, because I think I was like 2 weeks out of actually shipping on that security forces contract. anything like closer to 2 weeks, it's extremely hard to switch, right?
Yeah,
So if I did not pass that one, I would not have gotten a combat control contract.
man. Okay. That's nuts.
So
Yeah, I
he
didn't.
should have known that he booked another job before he would. So like I knew that I had a security forces contract, and I was like, I'm fine going in with that, but I am trying to get I'm trying to get the combat control slot. It's like either way, I knew I was joining, and some people don't understand that. Like if you're not passing the IFT within a certain time frame, like you're not necessarily going to pass it, right?
Yeah.
Um, I mean, you could prep all you want. I get it because it took me a while to do it too. But if you're really into it, you're really into it. But the Air Force isn't going to wait either. Like that's the big thing. Air Force is not going to wait.
How much room do you have to negotiate a contract?
What do you mean?
If I come in and I'm like, hey, I want to be a PJ,
Mhm.
um, there's no other job I want. Are you just going to keep training with me and keep doing the IFT until I pass? Or eventually are you going to be like, no, dude, you need to sign for some kind of job before I waste more time with you?
So usually with that, I kind of give them the reality of it. Like you have to pass your ASVAB, right? You have to get a good enough score on your ASVAB, and then if you get a good enough score on your ASVAB, you got to pass your physical. If you don't pass either of those, then what are we doing? Like we're not going to be able to get you into that. Now, a lot of the time, people who are coming in and they're special warfare interested, for me at least, they're already like super close to passing the IFT just as it is straight off the gate, and they only need maybe a month or so to actually prepare for it. Because if you're interested in special warfare, you've done your research at least a little bit, in my opinion. In my opinion, you have because you know,
Yeah.
but yeah, they're usually a good month. Now, say again, timeline, you go up to the medical facility now and you get all ready to go. You could book a job that leaves in March, and that's basically what we'll give you. Is like we'll have you booked a job way out here. Now pass the IFT before that. And that's a little bit in the weeds of like deeper recruiting as well. So like that's a whole different conversation of like this is why we're going to book a job. Maybe it's to hold it for somebody else that we want to give this job to. Maybe it's to hold it for a flight mate who needs this job and that we know and we're confident that you're going to pass the IFT so we can give it away. That's another reason that we do that.
Okay.
But at the end of
Well,
the day, after we create that job list, because I mean, you come back from MEPs, you can't necessarily list special warfare on your job list because you have to pass the IFT before you're even eligible for it. So we create another list off of that or off of the qualified list, and you're eligible to get one of those jobs. And then if you pass the IFT and you already have a job in the Air Force, your job in the Air Force goes away. You get put into special warfare development. You get booked out on SWOE, C, or EOD.
you get one giant question mark for the next two
Yeah,
years.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Um, how backed up are you guys for special warfare?
What do you mean? Like
So when I
the ship
signed
out
my
dates and stuff?
contract, yeah,
Uh, as far as I know, we're not necessarily, at least in my area, we're not super backed up on them because they were saying that we had a couple January dates. We have some February dates. It's usually monthly that we're shipping out special warfare guys,
okay.
but that might be a little bit over my head. That's
Dude,
just like what I hear from the grapevine.
yeah, that's a huge change, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
when I talked to Melissa,
yeah.
our recruiter in August of 2012, holy crap. Um, she was like, "Yeah, you know what? You passed your passed test, but the next ship
Oh
out date's
yeah,
not for 3 years."
3 years.
I was like, 3 years? What? I was like,
Yeah,
fine,
no,
whatever, I'll take it.
yeah,
And lo and behold, a month later, I get a call saying the guy in front of me got a DUI and I ship out in January. So I had I think I started talking to the recruiter in August. I got the phone
Yeah.
call in September.
Yeah.
So I had 3 months to keep training
Yeah.
and then ship out.
Jesus.
Man, it's a huge change. That's good to hear
Yeah.
though, right? And that probably stems from battlefield airmen getting their own basic
Yeah.
training flight, right?
Yeah.
So they have their own, was it two 45-man flights that then go into prep, that then go into um,
ANS.
assessment and selection. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then they proceed through. So now it used to be class sizes of 160-ish.
Okay.
That's what I started with in
Yeah.
indoc.
Yeah.
Now I
I
think
mean,
they're 90.
my selection was much less, but yeah,
Yeah.
Pararescue was
Well,
different.
yeah, I mean, at the time, combat control had what, a 2 week selection.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah.
Crazy. But now everybody goes through the same prep in ANS.
Yeah, they get the golden platter right off the bat.
Yeah.
I've seen a
It's,
lot of interesting characters from that.
I believe it.
All right. So I have a bunch of questions from the group chat now, and I
Okay.
have about 10 minutes left of your time,
Yeah.
probably less.
Hey,
All right.
let's get it.
Question one. What do I do if my waivers get denied? Can I submit new ones or should I submit new ones?
Waivers for what is the big thing, and
Well,
where they have been denied at. So if they get denied by the Surgeon General, then you can't really, unless they get another like doctor's opinion or anything like that, there's no way to overturn a Surgeon General's opinion. Like they might,
okay.
you might be able to send some more stuff up there that kind of like negates it. And then maybe the Surgeon General will look at it and be like, okay, we have new evidence to the contrary. Maybe he can join. But there's not really a big, like, overarching, yeah, my waiver got denied. Can I submit something else? Now, sometimes the Surgeon General will, they've been recently sending out letters and memos going like, this is why you got disqualified. This is what we're looking for. You can reapply at this time. Or if it's to an extent that they can't let you reapply, they won't say that you can reapply.
What if he goes to a different recruiter in a different city?
No, because well, it again, it all depends. Like if it's the MEPs that's saying like your waiver's denied, and it depends on if it's medical or if it's a moral waiver, financial. Like if it's any type of those waivers, it's a little bit different. But if it's Air Force, like Surgeon General, like Surgeon General is Surgeon General. Like you're
Okay.
done. It's a full stop there.
Yeah. Did you say moral waiver?
Yeah. So like
What
law
is that?
violations,
Got it.
law violation waivers, like
All right.
DUIs.
Yeah. Next question. What
Yep.
is the average time between first contact with a recruiter and ship out?
It kind of depends on you, depends on your medical situation, depends on how fast that you are actually willing to do your job. So for us, our recruiters, my flight chief's expectation for us is a 14-day turnaround to the medical facility. So day you have your appointment, you need to have all your documents done at that appointment. You need to go home, do your background check by a couple days so that we can get you on the next available slot to the medical facility. Now, if you have medical conditions and medical documents that need to be submitted, that 14-day window still stays. It just we have to have movement on your file. So we have to have sent your medical documents before that 14 days is up. So usually with recruiters, as soon as you give us the medical documents, we're scanning, we're sending it up. But
Okay.
at least to the medical facility for us, it's 14 days as a turnaround. And then from the medical facility to shipping out, it could be anywhere from a week to 3 months. So it really just depends. We have jobs that leave every single week. And it really depends on you going like, hey, this position just opened up. Do I want to take it? Or hey, do I want to put my name in the draft with the 10 job list and see if I can snag one?
Okay.
And then special warfare, completely different story too, because we don't even really see their jobs a whole lot. We are taking over a lot of it though, so we are able to book some of those jobs, but they can't leave until they complete an IFT with the special warfare or the T3I developer.
Okay. All right.
So it really
Next.
depends.
Yeah. Next question.
Yeah.
What do you look for when determining how serious a candidate is? Is it all based on scores, or does attitude and professionalism play a larger role? This is from somebody who wants to go crow. So that's a different process. But
Oh, it's completely different. I look at for seriousness, I look at your professionalism, your attitude,
okay.
how fast that you are going to respond to your recruiter, how fast you're going to get them the necessary stuff. Um, when you come in, you meet with somebody, like you meet with us, you dress pretty nicely, like you're not in sweatpants and a hoodie, you're in jeans and maybe a polo. Like that goes a long way of saying like I'm really interested in this. I really want to do this.
So don't show up
So
to the recruiter like I did. Got it.
they, I mean, it all has their like ups and downs. Like sometimes people will come in there and but they'll be like super locked in. So like they could be in a hoodie and sweatpants, but be super locked in and engaged.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different than you come in a hoodie and sweatpants and you're just kind of just like sitting there
Yeah.
like this talking to me. I mean, at least be engaged if you're gonna come in like that.
The differences between a MEPS physical and a flight physical. Where in the process do they get the flight physical?
Flight physicals and basic training.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, is there any risk of getting the thumbs up in MEPS and then shut down in the flight physical?
Yes. You know Andre? You remember Andre?
Oh yeah. Is
He
that what
got the
happened to
thumbs.
him?
He got the thumbs down in basic training doing his flight physical. They found out he had scoliosis, and
No.
that DQ'd him from PJ.
Dre. No.
Yeah, yeah. So that's why
If
he's in
somebody already,
NDI.
what was that?
That's why he's in NDI.
Yeah. Yeah. And if somebody already has a flight physical from private aviation, does that
Mm,
satisfy for an Air Force flight physical?
it doesn't. It does not, but it can help.
How does the application paperwork differ for a civilian packet versus prior military?
Oh, prior military. I mean, you got to do basically everything yourself. So you have to get yourself cleared. And you still do go to MEPs and you still do a physical up there, but it's on. We put a lot more on you to get your stuff done. I mean, you've been in the military before. You should know how to like. You should know how to get your medical records, your 214. Like we put a lot more emphasis on you getting your stuff done, other than a traditional applicant where we're just like, okay, we have to kind of guide you through some stuff because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah,
You've been in the military before. We expect a little bit more.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. That's all of the questions from the group chat. Logan,
Hey,
dude, thank you for your time.
of
I
course,
really
man.
appreciate it.